Welcome to the session on primary occupations. First, let us get a brief introduction about what is primary occupations. The occupation based on natural resources is called as primary occupations. Hunting, collection of forest produce, animal rearing, fishing, farming, that is agriculture, mining, lumbering, etc. are primary occupations. In order to fulfill the increasing demands made by the growing population and also in order to find an alternative to human labor, mechanization was introduced in primary occupation. Primary occupation includes those occupations which are closely related to man's natural surrounding environment. Primary occupations include those activities that are undertaken by directly using or exploiting natural resources, for example, cultivation of food grains. This is known as primary occupation because it forms the base of all subsequent products that are made from it. The primary occupation is also called agriculture and related sector. To the types of primary occupations. The first and foremost type would be agriculture. Agriculture is also known as farming or husbandry, is the cultivation of animals, plants, fungi and other life forms for food, fiber, biofuel, drugs and other products used to sustain and enhance human life. Agriculture was the key development in the rise of sedentary human civilization, whereby farming of domesticated species created food surpluses that nurtured the development of civilization. The study of agriculture is known as agricultural science. The history of agriculture dates back to thousands of years and its development has been driven and defined by greatly different climates, cultures and technologies. However, all farming generally relies on techniques to expand and maintain the lands that are suitable for raising domesticated species. For plants, this usually requires some form of irrigation, although there are methods of dryland farming. Livestock are raised in a combination of grassland based and landless systems in an industry that covers almost 1/3 of the world's ice and water free area. In the developed world, industrial agriculture based on large scale monoculture has become the dominant system of modern farming, although there is growing support for sustainable agriculture including permaculture and organic agriculture. Agriculture has been classified majorly into three categories, that is, the first one being intensive agriculture, the second being extensive agriculture, and then plantation agriculture. Now, firstly, what is intensive agriculture? Intensive farming, also known as intensive agriculture, is a kind of agriculture where a lot of capital and labor are used to increase the yield that can be obtained per area. The use of large amounts of pesticides for crops and of medication of animal stocks is common. This is a contrast to traditional agriculture, which does not get as much output per area. When agriculture is intensified, this means that the amount of work needed goes up until the worker is replaced by a machine. At that point, there will only need to be a few workers to operate the machines. Intensive farming has often been done as a response to rising population levels. It is criticized because the standards of animal welfare are low. Intensive animal farming leads to increased pollution and to health issues. Modern day forms of intensive crop-based agriculture involve the use of mechanical ploughing, chemical fertilizers, plant growth regulators and pesticides. The use of machines has allowed farmers to substantially increase the production. Intensive farming has also increased erosion. The use of fertilizer and other chemical substances in intensive farming has led to water pollution. Intensive agriculture in agricultural economic system of cultivation using large amounts of labor and capital relative to land area. Large amounts of labor and capital are needed to the application of fertilizer, insecticides, fungicides and herbicides to growing crops, and capital is particularly important to the acquisition and maintenance of high efficiency machinery for planting, cultivating and harvesting as well as irrigation equipment where that is required. Optimal use of these materials and machines produces significantly greater crop yields per unit of land than extensive agriculture, which uses little capital or labor. As a result, a farm using intensive agriculture will require less land than an extensive agriculture farm to produce a similar profit. In practice, however, the increased economies and efficiencies of intensive agriculture often encourage farm operators to work very large tracts in order to keep their capital investments in machinery productively engaged. Theoretically, the increased productivity of intensive agriculture enables the farmer to use a relatively smaller land area that is located close to the market where land values are high relative to labor and capital, and this holds true in many parts of the world. If costs of labor and capital outlays for machinery and chemicals and cost of storage, that is whenever it is desired or needed, and transportation to market are too high, then farmers may find it more profitable to turn to extensive agriculture. However, in practice, many relatively small-scale farmers employ some combination techniques of both intensive and extensive agriculture, and many of these operate relatively close to markets. Many large-scale farm operators, especially in such relatively vast and agriculturally advanced nations such as Canada and the United States, practice intensive agriculture in areas where land values are relatively low and at great distances from markets, and farm enormous tracts of land with high yields. However, in such societies, overproduction that is beyond the market demands often results in diminished profit as a result of depressed prices. Now, the next type of agriculture practice being extensive agriculture, also known as extensive farming. Here, it is a system of agricultural production system that uses small inputs of labor, fertilizers and capital relative to the land area being farmed. Extensive farming most commonly refers to sheep and cattle farming in areas with low agricultural productivity, but can also refer to large-scale growing of wheat, barley and other grain crops in areas like the Murray-Darling Basin. Here, owing to the extreme age and poverty of the soils, yields per hectare are very low, but the flat terrain and very large farm sizes mean that yields per unit of labor are high. Nomadic herding is an example of extensive farming, where herders move their animals to use feed from occasional rainfalls. Extensive farming is found in the mid-latitude sections of most continents as well as in desert regions where water for cropping is not available. The nature of extensive farming means it requires less rainfall than intensive farming. The farm is usually large in comparison with the numbers working and money spent on it. In most parts of Western Australia, pastures are so poor that only one sheep to the square mile can be supported. Just as the demand has led to the basic division of cropping and pastoral activities, these areas can also be subdivided depending on the region's rainfall, vegetation type, and agricultural activity within the area and the many other parentheses related to this data. Now coming to the advantages of extensive farming. Extensive farming offers a number of advantages over intensive farming. The first being that less labor per unit area is required to farm large areas, especially since expensive alterations to land such as terracing are completely absent. Secondly, mechanization can be used more effectively over large flat areas. Greater efficiency of labor means generally lower product prices. Animal welfare is generally improved because animals are not kept in stifling conditions. Lower requirements of inputs such as fertilizers. If animals are grazed on pastures native to the locality, there is less likely to be problems with exotic species. And also, local environment and soil are not damaged by overuse of the chemicals. Now let us have a look into the disadvantages of extensive agriculture. Extensive farming can have the following problems such as yields tend to be much lower than with intensive farming in the short term. Large land requirements limit the habitat of wild species. In some cases, very low stocking rates can be dangerous, as in the case with intensive farming. Now moving to the third type of agriculture, which is plantation agriculture. A plantation is a long, artificially established forest, farm or estate where crops are grown for sale, often in distant markets rather than for local on-site consumption. The term plantation is informal and not precisely defined. Plantations are grown on a large scale as the crops are grown for commercial purposes and not for local consumption. Crops grown on plantations include fast-growing trees, often conifers, cotton, coffee, tobacco, sugarcane, sisal, some oil seeds such as oil palms and rubber trees. Farms that produce alfalfa, lespedeza, clover and other forage crops are usually not called as plantations. The term plantation has usually not included large orchards except the case of banana plantations, but does include the planting of trees for lumber. A plantation is always a monoculture over a large area and does not include extensive naturally occurring stands of plants that have economic value. Because of its large size, a plantation takes advantage of economies of scale. Protectionist policies and natural comparative advantage have contributed to determining where plantations have been located. Now the next type of primary occupation is animal husbandry. Animal husbandry is a subsidiary occupation. It is based on animals like cows, oxen, buffaloes, horses, pigs and poultry birds. The financial requirement of farmers can be fulfilled. Animal husbandry is the management and care of farm animals by humans for profit, in which genetic qualities and behavior considered to be advantageous to humans are further developed. The term can refer to the practice of selectively breeding and raising livestock to promote desirable traits in animals for utility, sport, pleasure or research, but also refers to the efficient exploitation of a species in agriculture advantageous to humans. Next comes fishery. A fishery may involve the capture of wild fish or raising fish through fish farming or aquaculture. Directly or indirectly, the livelihood of over 500 million people in the developing countries depends on fisheries and aquaculture. Overfishing, including the taking of fish beyond sustainable levels, is reducing fish stocks and employment in many world regions. If fisheries are poorly managed, environmental impacts go unchecked. Unsustainable fishing practices put seafood resources and fishing livelihoods at risk. The United Nations FAO estimates that 11 of the world's 15 major fishing areas and 69% of the world's major fish species are in decline and in need of urgent management. Fish provides food, oil, fertilizers and medicines to man. Government has contributed a lot by making cold storage facilities available, good transport facilities and warnings given to fishermen. In marine fishery, Maharashtra is the leading state. West Bengal is leading in freshwater fishery. Fish farming is done using fish seed. Now let us discuss the next primary occupation, which is mining. Mining is the extraction of valuable minerals or other geological materials from the earth from an ore body, lode, vein, seam or reef, which forms the mineralized package of economic interest to the miner. Ores recovered by mining include metals, coal and oil shale, gemstones, limestone and dimension stone, rock salt and potash, gravel and clay. Mining is required to obtain any material that cannot be grown through agricultural processes or created artificially in a laboratory or factory. Mining in a wider sense includes extraction of any non-renewable resource such as petroleum, natural gas or even water. Mining of stone and metal has been done since prehistoric times. Modern mining processes involve prospecting for ore bodies, analysis of the profit potential of a proposed mine, extraction of the desired materials and final reclamation of the land after the mine is closed. The nature of mining processes creates a potential negative impact on the environment both during the mining operations and for years after the mine is closed. This impact has led most of the world's nations to adopt regulations designed to moderate the negative effects of mining operations. Safety has long been a concern as well, and modern practices have improved safety in mines significantly. Now coming to the next major primary occupation, which is lumbering. Lumber or timber is a collective term for harvested wood that has been manufactured into boards and planks. This process is part of something called wood production. Lumber is predominantly used for structural purposes but has many other uses as well. lumber is classified as hardwood and softwood. Lumber is supplied either through rough or finished products. Besides pulpwood, rough lumber is the raw material for furniture making and other items requiring additional cutting and shaping. It is available in many species, usually hardwoods, but it is also readily available in softwoods such as white pine and red pine because of their low cost. Finished lumber is supplied in standard sizes, mostly for the construction industry, primarily softwood from coniferous species including pine, fir and spruce, collectively known as spruce, pine, fir, cedar and hemlock, but also some hardwood for high grade flooring. Now let us have a look into the features of primary occupations. Activities of man related to land such as hunting, fishing, agriculture and mining. Goods obtained by this occupation are not directly useful to us and they have less economic value. This occupation is more common in the developing countries. They provide raw materials to secondary occupation, for example, agriculture, mining and lumbering. And finally, countries whose economy depends more on primary occupation have a low economy. Now coming to the merits or the advantages of primary occupations. Primary occupations such as animal husbandry helps us in developing high yielding breeds of various domestic animals through crossbreeding. Thus, animal husbandry increases the availability of various food products such as milk, eggs and meat which are obtained from domestic animals. Secondly, poultry and animal rearing helps in raising the living standard of farmers. As a result of higher production of animal products, the income of farmers increases. Less labor per unit areas is required to farm large areas in case of practices such as extensive farming, especially since expensive alterations to land like terracing are completely absent. Mechanization in agriculture has led to higher yields. Animal welfare is generally improved because animals are not kept in stifling conditions. Lower requirements of inputs such as fertilizers, and also if animals are grazed on pastures native to the locality, there is less likely to be problems with exotic species. And finally, local environment and soil are not damaged by overuse of chemicals. Coming to the demerits of primary occupation. The first one being that greater labor, that is manpower, is required in practicing methods such as extensive farming. Large land requirements for farming limit the habitat of wild species and sometimes force their migration into human dwellings. Animal husbandry can affect the environment because animals are a vital and thriving part of most ecosystems, and if they are eradicated or in any way dominated by humans, it can throw the entire ecosystem into imbalance. The constant use of artificial fertilizers, together with a lack of crop rotation, decreases the soil fertility year by year, known as land exhaustion. Damage to the structure of soil by compression is a serious problem in areas that are intensively farmed. Conventional tillage may involve a tractor passing over the land 6 or 7 times, and the wheelings can cover up to 90% of a field. Even a single tractor pass can compress the surface enough to reduce the porosity of the soil by 70%, increasing surface runoff and therefore water erosion. In the worst cases, the surface runoff may approach 100%, none of the water penetrates the surface. As crop yields grow, so does the amount of fuel needed to produce them. Next is about the biocide sprays. The only controls used against weeds and pests are the chemical ones. Most crops receive many doses of different chemicals before they are harvested. On most modern farms, all animals are crowded together indoors. Complex systems of machinery are needed to feed them, while constant medication is needed to prevent disease. The cruelty involved in managing, breeding, growing and slaughtering farm animals today is unimaginably repulsive and horrifying. The supply and trading in agricultural inputs and produce is in the hands of a few large corporations. This threatens food security, reducing the leverage and importance of the first and the last part of the supply chain, that is the farmer and the consumer. Chemical agriculture is a threat to their livelihoods and changes their lifestyles, unfortunately not for the better. Now, since we have discussed about all the types of primary occupations, let us have a look into the brief summary of this topic. The primary occupations of the economy are the sector of an economy making direct use of natural resources. This includes agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining and extraction of oil and gas. This is contrasted with the secondary sector producing manufactured goods and the tertiary sector producing services. The primary sector is usually most important in less developed countries and typically less important in industrial countries. The manufacturing industries that aggregate, pack, package, purify or process the raw materials close to the primary producers are normally considered part of the sector, especially if the raw material is unsuitable for sale or difficult to transport long distances. Primary industry is a larger sector in developing countries. For instance, animal husbandry is more common in Africa than in Japan. Mining in 19th century South Wales is a case study of how an economy can come to rely on one form of business. Canada is unusual among developed countries in the importance of the primary sector, with the logging and oil industries being two of Canada's most important occupations. Thank you.